Hey, what's going on, everyone? Great day of chess so far in the Magnus Carlsen Invitational. First leg of the knockout stage. Explosion at every board in the tournament. We are following today Nakamura versus Ian Neppo. Naka destroying Nepo in the first game and Neppo returning the favor, destroying Nakamura in the second game. So let's just take a look at it. We have e4 by Nepo, e5, knight f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5, and Nakamura goes for his Berlin defense with knight to f6. Nepo castles, knight takes on e4, d4. The idea here is simple. If you take, I'm going to put my rook on e1, I'm going to attack you down the e5, and it's going to be game over very soon. So, of course, Naka goes for knight to d6, attacking the bishop on b5, and here Nepo goes ahead and plays the main line. Other options in this position is to take here, and after knight takes on b5, you go a4. Now the knight is trapped, it has nowhere to go. So knight to d4, knight takes, d5, en passant. And after these moves, we all know this is a theoretical draw. White goes here for the quick draw, but of course Nepo was not going to go for this. He's down a point, he lost in the first game, he needs to strike back. So he plays the main line with bishop takes on c6. And here we have a trade of queens and knight to c3, of course, because of the damage structure that he has here and losing the right to castle. Black does have the bishop pair to play with. King to e8, getting away from the d file in case rooks want to come in there after moves like this, threatening checkmate down there. So king to e8, sidestepping. H3, the idea is simple. You want to play g4, start expanding on the king side. Bishop to e6, and here comes Nepo with g4, knight to e7, knight d4, gaining tempo on the bishop. This bishop has to move. If you play another move, like let's say a6 here, you go knight takes, and after pawn takes, you go f4, and then maneuvers like knight to e4, knight to c5, or even knight to g5, targeting the e6 pawn is going to be a very difficult game for Nakamura to play. So he needs to go back with bishop to d7, and here Nepo is able to gain the time to play this move f4. He wants to target the pawn chain here. If pawn takes, of course, bishop takes on h3, attacks the rook, then you take on h5, and you win a pawn. So, and at the same time, you are trying to open up the h file for your rook. Here, Nepo goes f5. Now, if you take with the pawn, you can take back with the pawn and be safe. But here, everybody thought he was going to take, and instead he goes e6. He attacks the bishop in between move. Very beautiful. Nakamura takes, pawn takes, and here he has to go bishop to c8. And look at this very powerful pawn. Now, and look at black's pieces. They just are not coordinating whatsoever. In this position, Nepo goes bishop to g5. He sacrifices a pawn, and g takes on h3. A lot of people were thinking, oh, why not c5? Thinking, okay, this knight moves, and then you can take the pawn. Well, if you go for c5, then the knight comes to b5. Now we're hitting on c7, and there's not a good way to protecting that. So even if you go king to d8, we go rook here with check, and it's going to be game over. So you cannot play c5 yet. So Nakamura took on h3 instead, and Nepo went king to h2, not to allow this pawn from coming forward any longer. Knight to g6 and knight to e4. Look at this awesome centralized knights here. This rook is going to come to d1. There's going to be ideas with knight takes on e6 and rook to d8, checkmate on the king. So rook to h5, attacking the bishop occurred in the game. Rook g1, protecting the bishop with the rook. a6, Nakamura is running out of moves. He doesn't know what to do. Here, Nepo plays rook a to d1. He's going for that nasty checkmate I just mentioned with knight takes on e6, followed by rook to d8. Knight to e7, Nakamura gets in the way of the bishop. Now, if a rook lands there, the king can just take it. But rook d to f1 by Nepo, and Nakamura in this position played this absolute blunder. His position was very bad to play anyways. Nepo finished the game in style with the rook takes on f8, and it is here in this position that Nakamura resigned. But I want to show you the reason why he resigned. If king takes, you go bishop takes on e7, and you cannot take this bishop. You actually have to run away in order not to lose the game on the spot. If you take the bishop, you end up losing the game after rook takes on g7, king to f8, rook f7 check. The king has to come to g8. Here you go knight f6, king to h8, and you can take the rook, because you cannot take this knight here, because you go knight to f6 and it will be checkmate on h7 on the next move. You cannot prevent it. Nepo destroying Nakamura. What a great matchup we have. I cannot wait to see game 3. These two are going at it so hard. Hope you guys enjoyed the game. Stay safe. Have a great day. Show respect to your opponent. See you on the next video.